is with me, your host Ibrahim Sonko. And today, with me in this episode, I sit down with a man whose life stretches across some of the most important intellectual, religious, and diplomatic spaces of our time. Alhaji Abubakar Drammeh's story begins in Brikama,
Baba
takes root
Abubakar,
in.
Baba Abubakar Drammeh.
Can I indulge you? Let me correct that. Alhaji Baba Abubakar Drammeh's story begins in Brikama, takes root in Sintet, and travels through the great centers of Islamic learning in Egypt before extending into the corridors of diplomacy across the Middle East, Africa, and beyond. His journey is not just personal, it's a window into the evolution of Islamic scholarship in the Gambia, the shifting relationship between traditional Quranic education and Western style schooling, and the ways in which faith, knowledge, and public service can shape a life of purpose. For many Gambians, Sintet is a village known for its quiet dignity, its interwoven tribes, and its deep Islamic heritage. But for him, it was more than a home. It was a spiritual and intellectual foundation. It was the place where he memorized the Quran, where he learned discipline and humility, and where he eventually rose to become an imam as well. It was also a place where men, like my own grandfather, played a role in shaping the moral economy of the community, rather. Men whose generosity, business acumen, and sense of responsibility left lasting impressions on the young scholar who would only one day represent the Gambia on the world stage. His life bridges two walls: the daara and the classroom, the village and the global arena, and the mosque and the embassy. From the traditional Quranic system that formed his earliest worldview to the academic rigor he encountered in Egypt, he has lived at the intersection of two educational traditions, each with its own philosophy, its own discipline, its own vision, and what it means to be human. And then there is diplomacy, decades spent navigating the political, cultural, and religious complexities of the Middle East. Few Gambians have had such intimate proximity to the region's history, its tensions, its alliances, and its evolving relationship with Africa. His reflections offer not just personal memories, but a broader understanding of how small nations like ours engage with global powers and how faith and identity travel across borders. Today, he is also a translator, a community leader, and the founding president of a major religious body in the Gambia, a role that has taught both influence and controversy, as all meaningful leadership does. His book, which I have with me here today, from Sintet, um, from Sintet-Brikama to Egypt and beyond, captures this long arc of experience, and I am honored to explore it with him, especially knowing that the foreword was written by my very own uncle, Dr. Karamo Sonko, whose own intellectual journey intersects with his own profound ways. This conversation is about memory, it's about scholarship, it's about diplomacy, and the making of a life anchored in service. It's about the ideas that shape societies, the relationship that sustains communities, and the principles that guide the man changing times. Uh, Baba, Uncle, Mfama, I can go on and on for what an impressive life and public service that you've had. Mafule Koibi Similar, welcome to the Dialectic Space podcast.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wa imamil mursalin. Sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Mbafude ko bismillah ndima kendo na sing sinderiya mo kendo alonna aning momi yaron ko aka awa alifalu ake respect. Mfanambela ni invitation ba welcome la.
Baraka Baka Tata, Mbafule ko again, welcome to the show. I'm content Baba ke be keso jambi because obviously momo entelong yalo ning drama kunda amandante fon la ba na wulul al fanang aninna grandparents sol nin drama kunda relationship min soto. So nyimu kula dimi yalon ko biente content Baba ke la kabri nga nyindati mo jamale ya fonye ko look inenta tata kamal nan soto to come and talk to us about na history aninna identity anin tata fon la doku min bo kono sadiang maron wato wada senkol wato wada funje ko ko diamu da tata ne banka ko is in the offing we're working on it so being content baba kele alhamdulillah so sambe kacha data damin tata wolam nyindi ko I want to begin with your origins. You were born in Brikama, but you also grew up in Sintet. two places with very rich Islamic and cultural histories. How do you remember Ila early days in both of these places?
Thank you very, very much, my nephew. I'm very happy and proud of you having me on this episode. Yes, as you rightly said, I was born in Brikama. And then I grew up in Sintet. And then when you talk about the religious aspects in both cities, I can say that in Birikama, I was born into a deeply rooted religious family. There was no need actually in Birikama for having people converted into Islam because I could say almost all of them were Muslims. As regards Sintet, okay, my father got there in the early 40s. At that time, I could say that not everyone was a Muslim, men and women alike. There are, yes, Muslims, and I could consider Sindh to be a Muslim village. But then, with the arrival of my father there in the early 40s, as I said, he had focused, among other things, to religious spread and to ensure that and to ensure that everyone, in fact, in Sintet becomes a Muslim. So that was one of the functions he had undertaken during his early days in Sintet. For example, some would come and meet him in his own home and convert him or her into Islam. But uh, on most occasions, would be when there was an Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha al-Mubarak. At that time, after the prayer, people would come forward to ask him to convert them into Islam, be it men or women that had really had Sintet for Islam to grow there widely and in fact, forcefully too.
Mhm.
So this was one of the functions he had undertaken during his lifetime until he passed away in 1977. So this is the difference. In Birkama, almost everyone was a Muslim. In Sintet, not everyone was a Muslim at that time. But today, Alhamdulillah, we thank God, there is non-Sintetian who is not a Muslim, or perhaps maybe may have some other things. But as far as Islam is concerned, we consider all the Sintetians, be it Mandinka, Jola, or Fula, to be Muslims. Yes.
So, so just for the purposes of our audience, I'm going to say that this interview is going to be conducted both in English and Mandinka too, such that we're not alienating the wider audiences of also understanding and losing a very important part of the interview, like which is the context. Sometimes the translation gets lost, but the beauty about Tata is a linguist. He is educated both in Islamic scholarship, which essentially also tells you he speaks Arabic very fluently. He speaks English language very fluently as well. And so Manika Kawa do Yaran Dofala. So we're going to make sure that we juxtapose all of those, except Arabic, because I cannot speak Arabic very fluently. But Manika Kawa ni Angale Kawa would be very much welcome. So Tata, in the book, Fanang, you talked a lot about Ila transition from Sintet, from Brikama to Sintet, and the role that has sort of played in your formative years. As a boy, how being in Sintet from Brikama going to Sintet, what did Sintet mean to you when you were growing up?
You know, uh, Ibrahim, it is important for us to look at our backgrounds. When I joined my father in Sintet in my, as you describe it, formative years, I was already deeply interested in learning the Quran and learning the fiqh, that is Islamic jurisprudence. So in Sintet, my age mates, most of them, in fact, were not like that. They didn't go to either English school or what we call majlis in those days. So my father assured that I should really be focused, learning Islam, learning the Quran. Even if I had to go along with some of my age mates like Boto Jaju and others, then my orientation, my direction was different from theirs. So that has made me a little different from my age mates. Because as I did, as I said, my father was trying to spread Islam and convince the people of Sintet to give their back, to give their backs to the worship of anything like idols,
Mhm.
idol worshipping, to condemn that kind of things on several occasions. For example, on the occasion of naming ceremony, on the occasion of funerals, on the occasion of tying marriages, and so on and so forth. Those were the occasions my father would really my father would really take the opportunity to to explain and expound the principles of Islam, the belief, the faith of Islam, what Islam means, so that in this way, many of the people of Sintet who were not Muslims were persuaded, were really convinced that really Islam is the true religion of Allah. It is the true religion of even humanity. So they would come forward, and declare their faith of Islam publicly, as I said, at times at home,
Mhm.
but at other times in after
Come
the
to.
Eid prayers.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes. So at that time, for Nangalo Nefanang, your late father, he would later become, I mean, Sinten Kol Natale, ye bunya Diala Pru Aikela Imamot. Amanda Imam Yala, ila kuliolu ning kukata je kom sangol tenting, ibe kata telea, wale katelo kumande pura nanang, dino ya landi nyamin pura sa awala mulio wanyama. Bari fanang ay mo jamal fanang karani al-Quran wala fanang. Anim fanang ko ngalo ne ko Allah root solu. You talked about this very brilliantly in the book. It's in Damfa Kunda, right? And your dad was almost due in line to be an imam of Damfa Kunda, but Sintet call me along. He is almost originally Safoko among Ulu water among Boto, but in Natalie Bunyan in the Puru ka make sure Pura Kele Imam would Fentem Fire London means so and I role in play la community. So left in terms of our contribution or in terms of knowledge acquisition for now. Now in communities like that, a lot of young people like come along most mojama Safoko na mori body wala na Imam or Pura didn't wal karane al Quran. What is the significance of that in terms of ila ifama I role in play kamol karande al Quran and also the wider community and a relationship with molu and also just the expanding of knowledge, Islamic knowledge in Sindet village.
Nyinde is really an important question. Bao akamul convert to Islam no mention.
Ha
But yen dula min foten, ye kumata bakele na suo kono ninkum jero majidi soti.
ha
Odun o watola an yannin kanda bo binala. Majlis kilim mantara sindeti. Anda o wato fana moman soto kordati ye fana meyaran ko ni arab ka letaro nata asikaran noje na manken dolla suo kono ti. Wo kono sintetin kuru jama na manika kunda dola kunda kabombu fula kunda jamale kana dino nyinin kabulu ay jamale fana dundi karantato wodu kono alkali bigede alkali games game yaran ka keda minister ti dum fana ita fango awa ifande on biere segu sonko nyoru awa atara ifama fango jamba atara obe ginanle abe alaji kaw silla be wala budu karawda yo wo kola mo jama mbandi maron nyoru awa ni suduma ne nyoru samujan suwa nyoru nyunu be mo moleti menia don ko kata imama sako imama fa nyaare ka sonko woni mfa ma isa munta ko ni mo bakini mfa kilnet ni bende ni be kacare kamera nyunu nyunu bakini fa kilo laboti ngawol be sede yale ngawol be sede ya won mo imamati alhamdulillah la tentu baro moti katu ko ibeya katale ka itandi molla ka islam o ka nsafo no ka project awa modi en society kon la meni alon ko tumando pujama biye mano so mfama ka karandi alquran ola ake karandi dinola ndefana ka bin kuliyata nin ko mfama wororo dintella yo ibaje la ko mamallamin bikamia ko Quran wala min sise fama mu nyama sise leti aya dim fama la ka karndi al Quran wala wona nyom fama do to ko la bake uldo aka make so ka atela baruo amantara dependire mola de seno lo mu anen awaka business o do mandinke ma uma warade bari seno aka o kele babake ndol amunta ko menta wala kono woto ay katwo min ke woto wokete sinde ni ko di an eye opener pour isi ñaatirin karan wala isi ñaatirin londi ñino wala wala kola ibaji la kafo ko aw ñin mission school ya lo sinteti in 19 nimanya 1954 1954 ya lo wot utum wala bitum sintetin ko fana fula kunda nin awamani ga kunda jola kunda e kumasi de franka ye ñaatirin tubabu karan wala bari mor karan o kañ nin kumu otartan to la so da mala kono fo magistio dona de kafay ko kandabo bo fana wasita tambakundare afana nala talibol nata na barende wodu ifanali awa amunde kaftam fa mamale ka islamo ka karande kar ko
So tata malum febe moy kan ne ba. Mika tata moy de nang Mohammed du kare ma koy ya computer jibe wala mobile o. I don't know what's happening. But I told me bijam ba fla le ko ala baraka mo jamal be comment section o to ba fla le ko you know mbal tentu la mbal jela alla contribution on ala comment solo al be mbe ke kanjang. Mohammed mika tata moy de. It's a fintino Mohammed yemuru nang ko denke. Just exit quickly and then come back. That should be fine. Yes, Maflaleko, thank you all very much for being here. And we're going to continue. Ning Tata Baba Abubakr Drammeh, Ning Walwe Kachala B. And again, come back for Kanyame. Alabuko is available on Amazon. My story from Sintet, Brikama to Egypt and beyond. That details his life and work. Okay, Baba is back here. Alkamuel. You are. It seems you're muted. Malo mineketade, buddy. Mohammed, it seems I'll be muting. Yeah, I apologize for that. These things happen sometimes, but we'll try to get it situated and continue. Natulun Benji Fekang, Dukarengal man, and the last of Katata call. Mal, Alcamuela. Bang. Yeah, Mohammed, can you try a different phone, please? Mobile do try bang OGB bang because Ning Sai Mal Minekada, Mikal Moy at all, and not look at Moela. So I don't know why, because Nkamoela know very clearly, but Sai Mikal Moy Kotek. But yes, thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us in this very important conversation. Ning Tata Abubakar, Ntaka find the Tata Ntola Alpha Alum, Ntolbela Alpha Alum anyway. So Ndalta Kakumaniwala, so you guys have to excuse me while I call him that. But Tata Moldimia Uncle, I Doku Jamaleke within the Gambia and outside the Gambia as well in the sphere of Islamic religion, Islamic scholarship, but also in diplomacy. So Mbatrai kan neka asoto jankotenke. Hello. Yeah, yeah, uh, Mikal Moy at all. I don't know why in the middle of the interview, Lusta Odiola. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to get Tata back, but I want to tell all of you, thank you for being here. For those of you that are just joining us, hello, hello, Alcam Moy bang. So but into Bikatul Moy, Allah audio nying it's not coming through. Hello, yeah. Oh my God, that's okay. Saimbal
Hello.
Moykan, yes, Saimbal Moykan.
Uh-huh.
Na la phone can do not disturb that, but I call out back like twice, 3 times, so I can do that.
I
Yeah,
know.
but you
Inko mol
Yeah, yeah, no
wala
matter.
kadi call because Sonia mol block on call because Sonia block on for nimbe interview la ngole je wato wat.
yeah, yeah, you do that. Obe mula barakora. Barakora mobile.
Tara.
Barakota
Dare
masiro.
ari aka call ya back but Tara science continue.
Uh-huh.
Obviously na grandfather la ko nyum fodo maninkele ba nyari ka sonko ala nata ke interne mat meet because ndel mu dinno leti anata atenata amanna balu wato min nantulbe dindi yala.
Mm-hmm.
So ila buko helped me a lot, give me some perspective as to understanding who my grandfather was, but also mfama fanang I kurano karanda min fanang going all the way to Jinan. But it's sign
Yeah.
lafi nyinin kala fanang because Sintet in many ways is somewhat a micros word of one but in many ways it is very reflective of na larger Gambian society in the sense that fulol bejele maninkol bejele and jolal fanam bejele. But I want you
Uh,
to talk to us about the significance of tribal or tribe sabol ila relationship benyaming nung at the time Kabrang ite you were growing up in Sintet, how important was ni siol mi yalan ko bebe sirinje nyomuta nyaadle anim fanan dina nyaton ko le mu role play kaje ko mole nyoje as one community.
Nsafo no ko niesite describe o atola.
Mhm,
Nsafo no ko is three in one community.
mhm,
Three in one community. One voice, especially religiously. One
mhm,
voice, uh, socially.
mhm,
Sinti wotu mo abe wale nyama. Tumo de safo nyoko muni ati na tata wo nyama o tembo to alifaru mume bebe mukankilineti.
mhm,
Ibika alibamo soso mume. Ibika alikalo soso mume. Mune wasabu. Nsafo no tumando. Wotu mo karaman jamfaje ba karaman among yiriwa was not widespread. Education was not widespread in that village at that time.
mhm,
Maybe that was one of the factors why that kind of consensus voice and that kind of unity and that kind of mutual understanding and mutual respect among the people of Sintet. Perhaps, as I said,
mhm,
education was not that widespread or was almost non-existent because there was no school. An English school, as I said, started, I think, in around 1954.
mhm,
So that was, I think, one of the factors why the people of Sintet were all of them were united. There was no thing like this madhab, this, this theory of Islam. And no, there was not like that in those days. In fact, even in the entire Gambia, there was nothing but one. Maybe we'll talk about that. One school of thought
Yeah.
dominant in the country. Yes.
So at the time, Fanang, conventional Western education, wala is maninkol sa min fo tubabu karon, abe sembo
Mm.
soto kan nenu. So atolla family another generational, how did you navigate that tension between, on one hand, ila family wala ila ululal ba fule ko al Qurano karang, and on another hand, there may also be an interest tubabu karon fanang ke such that genuine la fulol fana mume kalam da demanding.
The thing is that my good nephew, you know, when the colonialists invaded our countries, the Muslims were very suspicious of their directions and their intentions. So they
Mhm.
decided, in most cases, to be aloof from the colonialists. In fact, some of them would go into a very remote area, in the rural area, so that they would have no influence or no impact of any sort through their children with those colonialists. So my father was no exception.
Mhm.
He also decided, although the school was established in Sintet at Flakunda, the currency, my dead brother, may Allah have mercy on him,
Amen.
was fit to be enrolled in that school because his age mates like Kali James Gay, Segus Tonko, and others, and also Flakunda as well, we are all enrolled in that school. My father refrained from sending Karanseko, to that school. So the reason, as I said, was the fear for his religion, just as were his uncles and his parents before. So that was the reason for us, for me particularly, and for Karaseku, not to join that school. And then maybe you would ask me later why then I joined or I did the English education later.
Mhm.
So, but this was one of the reasons. Yeah, I think you follow. So, if
So
you want me
yes,
to say,
yes,
mm,
I do. Instead of no kind of science and thing. So it a introduction to Western or conventional education. What not na nyadile?
yo Bafara Mandinka Kamala
Ah.
Kotenge,
Mhm.
yo Fama Kabra Yenki Arab Dua Yenki Egypt Karamala at his own expense, flying from Yundum Airport and landing at the international airport of Cairo. His intention was that I learn more uh, deeply, the Islamic education, the Arabic language, and the Islamic culture, and so on and so forth. That was his intention.
Mhm.
So, keeping me far away from the Western culture or Western education. But then, having arrived in Egypt, the situation was completely different.
Mhm.
I went there to learn Islam, and then I found them, the Egyptian themselves are even more interested, in fact, in Western education, perhaps to some extent than, just Arabic language.
Mhm.
So then, in order to do that, for me to learn, the English language, what I did was that because it was optional in my disciplines,
Mhm.
the curriculum. So to learn English or not to learn is optional. If you take it, you would be, take it, you'll be taken to doing the examination
Mhm.
of English. It will be compulsory at that time, in that case. So I wrote to my father. I said to him, there is a school here, a private school, in which you can learn English, but at a cost. So I would want you to send me money to pay and join that school. So he would not agree to that. Simply, I say the way I put it to him. But then I quoted a hadith from the Prophet Muhammad. That was an authentic hadith. Prophet Muhammad said to his scribe, Zayd bin Thabit, that Zayd learn the language of the Jews, that's Hebrew,
Mm-hmm.
because I cannot trust them with the book of Allah. I can't the mighty, adulterate it or do something that is not compatible with the spirit of the message. So I want you to learn their language as well. He did. I said, well, the prophet himself ordered, his disciple, his companion to learning, a foreign language, a Jewish language. Why not you to learn English, my father? So this has convinced him and sent me money to pay for my schooling at that particular school, which is located in Cairo itself. So that's the way I continued to learn English alongside with my subject at the university itself, Faculty of the Language and General Islamic Education. So by the time I graduated, Alhamdulillah, I did some English, not bad. Then when I joined the Foreign Service, you will capture that one also.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to continue my English education at Oxford,
Wow.
UK. And
Mm-hmm.
then, of course, after UK, I did my postgraduate in Nairobi, Kenya. And I did it in London also, the Polytechnic of Central London, which is now the University of Central London.
Wow.
So that was the way actually I learned English, and I think it was fruitful. Mm,
Yeah.
yes.
So, knowing fully well that you have this incredible experience in both systems, on one hand, on religious Islamic scholarship, you have gone very far. I think everybody that knows you know your depth of knowledge when it comes to Islamic religion and Islamic jurisprudence on one hand, and on the other hand, you also have a great experience when it comes to Western education too. Now, talk to us about because of Ila unique position. What are the strengths and limitations of both? How do you navigate using both, knowledge that you may acquire from your education? How do you assess each of their strengths and limitations?
My nephew Ibrahim Sanko, when you learn the Quran, actually, you will be able to overcome all the learning difficulties,
Mhm.
hurts, and problems. You'll be able to. I mean, it was Allah who would inspire you to be able to navigate smoothly and easily through your educational uh, struggle.
Mhm.
So I did not find it, impossible for me to combine both the English language and also the Islamic education, the Quran, and also the Islamic jurisprudence. So I didn't find it difficult at all. So I know the difference grammatically, and otherwise. But again, as I said, the light, Allah's light, emerges from the learning of the Holy Quran. The
Mhm.
Quran is a unique book. You know, it is the best, it is the most important religious book from among all other uh, books that had been revealed to the other prophets, be it Jesus, Isa, or Musa,
Mhm.
or any other, prophet who may have received the revelation, the holy book from Allah. So the Quran is the best, it's the most important book of all of them.
Mhm.
So it has given me light, it has given me strength, you know, to navigate through successfully all
Mhm.
these uh, uh, stages.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I thank God for that. Yes.
So moving on, is the religion of Islam, just like most religions around the world, also have different, sets or dominions. But I think what is unique about Islamic religion is the fact that everybody is united with the idea or the principle of the Holy Quran and also Hadith, Mulam Qurano and Haditho. So Gambia for a long time, until we've been influenced by various Islamic traditions, but generally the Maliki tradition or Maliki jurisprudence, Sufi also to some extent, and even recently, I think reformist movements. And also that is in line with the part of the African continent diamond. What was the dominant religious orientation in your formative years?
In those days, it was the Maliki school of thought, and up to date, I think it is the dominant school of thought in the Gambia, not only in the Gambia, but even in our sub-region, Senegal and beyond. So Maliki school of thought is the dominant one.
Mhm.
And when you talk about the orders, the Sufi orders also, and you have in the Gambia the Tijani and also the Qadri schools of or orders, schools of order. So up to date, you will find the Qadri order is more dominant because most of the Mandinka speaking belong to the Qadri school of order. And then, of course, you have the majority of the Warabs and the Fullers who really migrated from Guinea Conakry and likes and eastern Senegal, belong to the Tijani school of order. So up to date, this is the situation in the Gambia. Maliki more dominant in both school of thought and also the order, and then of course followed by the Tijani school of order.
Why,
Yes.
why why do you think Maliki is so dominant, has so much positive influence in Tolbe Diamond?
In fact, what actually happened when the Islam has been sent or has spread down to the west, up to Morocco. So those who have brought Islam down to Morocco, they belong to the school of thought of Maliki. So those people, they call the Moros, you know, they also fought hard to spread Islam in wider space of West Africa, including Senegambia, Mali, Guinea-Conakry, and so on and so forth. So this is the reason why the Maliki school of thought is more dominant in that area. Now you have other schools of thought like Hanafi, Shafi'i, and Hanbali, but these are not the school of thought which were up till now that dominant in West Africa. Although we have some students who really learn in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states, uh, it seem to use more and more the method of worship of Hanbali. But it's okay, or it is all the same. It is the same religion, the Sunni school of thought. So, in the past, people go to Saudi Arabia as a Qibla or the direction of prayers.
Mhm.
And then they go there for prayer, they go there for the Hajj, the pilgrimage, they go there for the Umrah, as you know, but not for education. No, they didn't, most of them in those days in our time. It is only after this kind of an economic globalization of the world that the oil sort of dollar and so on and so forth pumped into the other countries and then the scholarships were sent in hundreds, if not thousands, to the Muslim countries. That these students now uh, go to Saudi Arabia for further education, and
Mhm.
then not only that, of course, they have come with some ideas and some perspectives for,
Mhm.
which could look a little different from the perspective of religion that we know in our area.
Mhm.
So even though our people try not to be extremist, they do their best not to become extremist, but they adhere to the principle, to the cardinal principles of Islam as adopted by our forefathers, great grandfathers. So if there is any variance, that is not serious at all as far as
Mhm.
we are concerned.
So, in terms of your father's legacy too, who became the imam of Sintet, and then a legacy that sort of continued Allah family Fanankono until I think you was currently the imam of Sintet village, at least as far as I remember. Malam Fahani Sai Bijelabang, because now you're currently in the United States. But I know for certain that there was a time that you were still the imam of the village of Sintet. So, talk to us. What is the significance of Imam Ya? What does it mean in our traditional Gambian context, where they also serve as a religious, they serve generally or principally as religious leaders, but they also play bigger roles in terms of uniting the community. You talked about this in terms of your dad, the role that he played in the community. But being an imam in today's contemporary Gambian society, what role should they play, or what role do they continue to play in terms of unity and knowledge acquisition and expanding knowledge in our Gambian context?
Ibrahim, in this globalized world, people's perspective of everything, including religion, have differed from what was existing long before. But to become an imam, really is not only to lead people in prayers,
Mhm.
but lead them to good character, lead them to unity, lead them to mutual understanding, lead them to development, lead them to progress. Without that, your imamship will be lacking in many ways. So most people do not understand the role of the imams. They think that it's just, to lead people in prayers, and if there is a funeral, you lead them. If there is a kulio or naming ceremony, you lead them. If there is a fudusito, tying marriages, you lead them. Marriage contract, you lead them. That is not the only role for the imam. Imam is a social leader, is a community leader. Imam is a director in a way for the community in which he is living, in which he is leading.
Mhm.
So this is the point most people miss. Alhaji Ibrahim Asokwa.
Mhm.
Yes.
So, your journey to Egypt, as you talked about in your book as well, marked a turning point in your journey. How did that opportunity? I mean, how that opportunity came about? Obviously, you said your dad at the time was the one who funded it, which is very unique. I'm not sure a lot of Gambians in those days, Ilawululalu, they can afford sending their child or their son or daughter abroad to go and study. But how was your dad able to do this? What sort of I mean, what sort of business ventures, if any, does he have at the time, such that he allowed you, or at least help you to go abroad to study? On one hand, but on another, how was that experience like for you being in Egypt?
Ibrahim, my father, as I said, was at that time a visionary of our time. When he learned about me that I am interested in furthering my education outside the Gambia, and I was motivated also by some Gambians who have been to the Arab world and got educated there.
Mhm.
When I saw them, I say to myself, why don't I be like them?
Mhm.
Why don't I be like them? And then my father, as I said, relied, self-reliance. He was a self-reliant uh, parent, in farming and also a bit of business. So we never suffer in terms of the living from any difficulty. And then he would earn things rightly, and again he would save some money after making sure that we are living in a good way. We don't go starved, we don't go, closeless, and things like that. So that was my father's way. That was his philosophy. So when he, as I said, knew that I was interested in going, to further my education in the Arab world, he decided really, and at that time I could have married. Yes, I could have married
Mhm.
because my age mates, many of them were married.
Mhm.
But then I put that aside. He decided to get me a passport in 1963 and pay the air ticket for me direct to go through Dakar, Paris, Egypt. I left Gambia on the 10th of June, 1963, and got in Egypt, in Cairo, on the 12th of June, 1963. So that was how he managed to buy me an air ticket, at his own expense, without it begging, for that expenses from any other side. So that is the way actually he managed to achieve to enable me to achieve my goal, and my goal was to go to the Arab world to educate, to further my education. Yes.
Did your studies in Egypt expand or challenge your already understanding knowledge of Islamic studies?
I think I would say in a form, just in a form, not in
Okay.
reality. In reality, because I had learned enough of Arabic, the way I was able to communicate with the Arabs. But it is only the difference was the phonetics,
Mhm.
because we did not, devote much time on learning or being trained on phonetics, on accent. So that was the main challenge. But it was also difficult. Within a year or two, I was able to capture those missing, weaknesses in while in Egypt. Yes, so there was no difficulty for me at all to learn Arabic and Islam because I
Mhm.
have already got a strong foundation in those areas before going to the Arab world.
Now, talk to us a little bit about Islamic pedagogy. Especially in light of this society, as you said, economic globalization that we continue to see today, and the almost imposition of Western education in all aspects of our life. Is very glaring. We can see it every day, and so you've made it a commitment. I know at least most of your kids, and all of them have been through form of some form of Islamic education to be grounded in their faith first. How do you come about with this decision? Is that obviously because your dad made you go through the same system? You wanted your kids to undergo the rudiments of Islamic knowledge and Islamic teaching first before they go into conventional education. First, do you have kids that went only to Islamic school and not formal English school systems, or they have to do? How did you come to make that decision for yourself and your kids?
Actually, I used to tell my kids, my father was more visionary than your father. I used to tell them that. Yes. I said, look at me. Who is among my kids who is bilingual in Arabic and English? Tell me, I would tell them, I would challenge them. They would say, no, but our father traveled to, wider and wider and with wider experience, seeing so many things in life. Your father didn't have that kind of experience. I said, no, it was thanks to my father's vision that I was able to make you people, thank God, Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin, what you are today. Thanks must be given to Allah, after that to my father. Yes. So, because, when I came back, actually, I got married, and then I established a family. I found that even before I returned, to start with, Alhaji Sintet, I think you know him, Alhaji Sintet. It's my brother,
Yes, yes, I know him.
much elder brother.
Mm-hmm.
While I was, he was, he grew up enough to go to school, an English school. So, uh, Karan Sheku, may Allah have mercy on him, consulted me while I was in Egypt, and said that I want to put Alhaji into an English school. But really, my father is not very comfortable with that idea. Why don't you, why don't you involve in the issue so that I can send Alhaji Sinte to an English school? So again, I repeated the same hadith I mentioned to him before. Huh?
Yes, on the
Yes.
Hebrew. Yes.
He said, okay. He said to me, okay, she left to currency. If he did, okay, but not me. Me, I will not do it. That on what I call it. But in the currency of Wakil Dekan, I don't think it. That's how the whole scenario started. When you put currency into school, then the others follow, you
Yes.
know, until I came back. When I came back, I found that, that scenario was on. I did no attempt to change it, but maybe to reinforce it. Because look at my kids, all of them, they know more of English than of Arabic. Some of them are zero Arabic, some of them. So that's why I challenge them. I say, my father is more visionary than your father. Yes.
So another layer of your life which come ila di no sa fanyadi is ifama mumwitati ala nati de ma dunia dula jama itata je doku jama ke on behalf of banko to yala bari man
Ah,
dawod even Gambia fana man sakunda e doku ke jele fana
adan sa be
administratively
kawando la fanan sa ngaran ka kawando ke.
ha hani
Kon
sayo
kon
kawando
ba.
fana hani bi so ima retire hani bi tata
Ani ani. Marita bakan.
hani hay ba kam fobi so sahel la
So
fandim faham la sang pour na molu miliaron ko be jang ila fa be interest li la life la what inspired you to get into diplomacy.
all right, this is very important and interesting question. What actually happened when I returned from the overseas studies to the Gambia in 1974? Jawara, may Allah have mercy on him, the president of the Gambia at the time, decided to open an an embassy or diplomatic mission in Saudi Arabia. And then at that time, they need a bilingual to join the staff, the diplomatic staff. Then what actually happened was that it was only Sambuga Samma at that time and myself. I think you know Sambuga Samma.
Nka tomele malo.
Imalo, okay. It was only Sambuga Samma and myself who were formerly bilinguals, Sambuga Samma and myself. And then I was summoned by the Minister of External Affairs, and those they call it Minister of External Affairs. So, and gave me a test in English to see whether I was fit, to be a translator to be translated at the embassy. So I went for the test. I passed it. Then that was in 1974. I became the first Gambian Arabic English uh, diplomat into a Gambian diplomatic mission. I was the first who is bilingual in English and Arabic.
Mhm.
That, alhamdulillah, I thank God. And today you have maybe hundreds of Gambians who are really bilinguals, or even
Mhm.
maybe polyglot, but
Yeah.
loudness. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was the one. That was the situation which motivated me to join the diplomatic mission, because that time I was teaching. I was a teacher, in one of the schools in the Gambia. After my return, in those days, whoever did Arabic, when you return, the only space for you is teaching.
Mhm.
Is teaching. So I was teaching at that time. So then I was opted, to join the staff that diplomatic staff to Saudi Arabia. Yes, in 1974.
So, and that is the beginning of your diplomatic career, and you'll end up spending many years in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Pakistan, and even more. What would you say are some of the defining moments of your diplomatic career in that region?
Well, really, what I would say is that the difference experience, I have made through uh, being integrated with the people of these countries that you mentioned. I learn a lot, and I also try to, because it's a question of give and take.
Hmm.
Wherever I go, I try to, brief and update some of those peoples about what occurs in the Gambia, what our traditions were, and what our religion was, and so on and so forth, and the way actually they could help us as a developing nation, to do more, in order to uh, better our the living condition of our people. So that has been a very important turning point for me
Hmm.
in my life. Because when I was a student in Egypt, I focused only on my studies, on subjects, but
Hmm.
not on diplomatic issues. But when I found myself as a diplomat, I have to learn more. I
Hmm.
have to be someone different, not as a student, but
Hmm.
as a mission, as an emissary, as an emissary of my country to a region, from the sending states to the receiving state to the
Hmm.
host state. So I have to, as I said, integrate integrate with them,
Hmm.
and function in the way I mentioned to you. Yes.
So clearly, you witness the Middle East from the inside because of the amount of time that you spend there. How would you explain the region's political and religious complexities to Gambians who have lived there? And also bearing in mind what we're seeing right now, what is your understanding of the relationship that these countries have? What are they anchored on? Why? I mean, obviously, the relationships there is very complicated and very historical as well in terms of how long it's been happening. But really, how do you explain the region's political and religious complexities to Gambians who want to understand it?
Actually, as Mandinka saying, Utoke Kalang Alabang Kolela.
Hmm.
When you go to a foreign country, try to study uh, in depth, to do an in depth study about the way they live, about their faith, about their traditions, about their directions, their performance of the religion, or performance of international relations among themselves. So
Mhm.
that is very important. So the Arab countries, the Middle East countries, Pakistan, their traditions are different from those of Saudi Arabia or the Gulf states. And also the Gulf states traditions were different to some extent from that of Egyptians and the Moroccans.
Mhm.
So these are the complexities. And let me tell you, politically, I'm not a politician and I'm not a political scientist,
Mhm.
but they have never been, at par in all international issues. So the Egyptians would be on a platform that is favorable to them, unfavorable to, for example, to the Saudis. I'm just giving the examples. So they will not go by that. And that as a result, there could be a kind of, you know, harass, or I would, no, not harassment, I would mention that word, but a kind of difference of opinion. And at times that difference of opinion will rise to a point where a kind of a misunderstanding, a political misunderstanding, economic misunderstanding can rise. So, so those complexities are there, and I think they are still there.
Mhm.
They are not at par in everything. So, that is situation. Even at Jamal Abdel Nasser time, that's the time we spent. He tried to unite the Arabs all together. So he did very well, and most of them agree to listen to him, and not only that, but to exercise
Mhm.
as much as possible his viewpoints in many issues, particularly political issues. So they try, in fact, or he tried for them to rally behind him, and that they did that, in many on many occasions they did that. So, the Gambians should understand that if they find a kind of difference or political difference in the Gambia, they should know that in the Arab world also, in the Arab world also, there exists a political difference on many issues, religious, political, economic, military, and otherwise. Yes, they should understand that exists there too. Yes.
And would you perhaps make the assessment that what is happening today in the Middle East, in some ways, is has religious connotations or religious leanings in terms of the conflict that we see right now? Because I mean, you're not a politician, you're not a political scientist. I'm not a politician. I hate to be political, but sometimes some of the things that you hear, especially from the leaders of nation states, in terms of what they intend to do with, I mean, the class of civilizations and trying to replace dominant, because that area, the dominant civilization there is Islamic civilization, and so it almost feels like an attempt to sort of replace that dominant faith that is there, that we know for fact that Islam is expanding at an exponential rate to Western societies as well. And so my question really is, do you think what is happening today, even though is predominant, looks to be a very sort of religious conflict sort of in a way, but they're also trying to make sure that that doesn't go anywhere, so it's an attack on Islamic faith, so to speak? Would that be an accurate assessment, or is beyond that?
Well, in my assessment, these variants of political or religious views did exist, long before our times. And I do not think in a short term it will vanish. We will not see it. To bring the Muslim world together is a task that must be done. But at the same time, it is a task that is hard to be done. Yeah. So there can be attempts, and there have been attempts for Muslims not to have this kind of complex, bloody conflicts, on political reasons or on political grounds. So, but have they succeeded? No, they have not succeeded even among themselves. The Muslims among themselves, they have not succeeded in that, because each time there must be a conflict here and there, and it will not be only a political or verbal conflict, but bloody conflict. It is very sad. It's happening, and that it had happened in the Muslim world up to date.
Mhm.
That we are witnessing that. Yes.
So also locally in the Gambia, Ngalo Nefanang, you help found a major religious body in the Gambia, also which to some extent was also involved in some controversies because of the parallel organization that it is to the Supreme Islamic Council. Talk to us about that. How did this come about in forming another religious leadership body, or more or less a civil society that was established to continue to spread the word of Islam in the Gambia?
Actually, Ibrahim, you know that in the Gambia there exists many Islamic organizations.
Hmm.
You have the Islamic Union in Talinding, Kunjang, founded by late Muhammad Lamid Sise, and then you have Islamic Institute in Brikama, founded by Alhaji Banding Drammeh, may Allah have mercy on him, and that there are many others, and I think the Raudatul Majalis is just one of them. It's just
Hmm.
one of those organizations for the dawa. Just as the Supreme Islamic Council is founded for the dawa and the United Muslims of the Gambia, Raudatul Majalis also does exist, for the same purpose. And one should understand that those who founded the Majalis are the very ones who also contributed in founding the Gambia Supreme Islamic Council. In
Hmm.
my view, they are both doing the same thing, perhaps in a different way, but there's no clash between them. In my view, yes.
What is the well? I guess it's Islam, but I'm still going to ask this question. What is the ideological leaning of that body that is created?
It's just to maintain
Yeah.
the well-established principles of Islam inherited from our forefathers, our great grandfathers, which means that you respect the elders, you respect the leaders, you have sympathy and support, show your support for the young people, because the young people today are the leaders of tomorrow. So if that is the case, so your function, your duty first and foremost should be to encourage and open the ways for those young people who are really ambition, who have the ambition, to move the country forward, religiously, politically, economically, socially, and otherwise. Yes, that is the role
Mhm.
these organizations play. Yes.
So certainly, I'm also sure that in the establishment of the organization, there must have been a gap that the body wants to fill. In terms of, in the Gambian context, we've seen just the politicization of the Supreme Islamic Council, especially Kabrin Jambebe Mansayalano, and how he almost what looks like micromanage the Supreme Islamic Council in terms of what direction they want to take. Some people say that Atollah organization was meant to replace the Supreme Islamic Council. Is this accurate, or this is just opinions, mere opinions of people without any basis?
Everybody has his own or her own opinion. You
Mhm.
cannot force people to adopt and adhere to your own opinion only. So, in a society of freedom, or a free society, a democratic society, I think should also be able to listen and accept the second opinion, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So I think what you are saying is happening. That some
Mhm.
people they condemn the Majalis, some people would condemn the Supreme Council and other organizations, but that is their own opinion. I do not share them in that opinion as far as I'm concerned. I know they are all doing the dawa. Islam Council is doing a dawa. The Supreme Islam Council is doing a dawa. Islamic Union of Talenting is doing dawa. Islamic Institute in Birkama is doing dawa. So they're all doing different
Mhm.
ways for the same purpose. The roads are not every road lead to Rome, as they said.
Yeah.
They say every
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
every road, every road,
Leads
all
Rome.
roads lead,
Leads
all
Rome.
roads
Yep.
lead to Rome.
Yes.
The purpose, if the purpose is for Allah, so I
Mhm.
don't see anything, problematic in taking different ways and different,
Yeah.
approaches. Yes.
Well, Tata, now we're going to talk about your book a little bit, even though we've been talking about it before I let you go. So Tata's autobiography is here. You can find it on Amazon. You can order it and then it'll be delivered to you. Anywhere you are, you can order it from Amazon. The name of the book is My Story from Sintet, Brikama to Egypt and Beyond. That's the book, Tata Labuko, I mean, published. So, Tata, talk to us. What inspired you to write the book? And I know that you talked about this in the book a little bit, but talk to us about what inspired you to write your journey.
Actually, Ibrahim, I did not intend to write any book. But as I was in the Gambia, there would be a lot of events and occasions to which I would be invited. I'll invited, when invited, the the people, the gathering would ask me to talk about Islam and to talk about things that would motivate the young people, the leaders of tomorrow. All right. So mainly I did Arabic. But when I thought of my kids, I did not want them to have second-hand information about me. And then, unfortunately or fortunately, I put them all in English school. So if I wrote it in Arabic to start with, not all of them will understand what I really was trying to explain and to display about my own experience.
Mhm.
So then some people among my relatives told me, look, Baba, you are saying all these things, and the people are getting a lot of useful information from what you are saying. But if to be on the safe side, why don't you put them in writing? Put some of them in writing and about yourself, your history, and so on and so forth. Why don't you put it in writing? And then when I thought of my kids, that was why I decided to write it in English. So translate it into Arabic, because of the time and age and so on and so forth and responsibilities. So up till now, I could not do that.
Mhm.
I had that idea for Ambassador, my brother,
Mhm.
Ambassador Drammeh, Dr. Ambassador Drammeh, to translate it into Arabic, just as what he did for Alhaji Baba. I think Keba, you know about him.
Yeah, nga basi dia
So
London, nga basi dia interview jan.
but
Uh,
book of translate may book of Safembe or like Keba Jan.
Keba jan, okay.
Okay. So his own was translated by Bashir. I also wanted Bashir to translate mine into Arabic, but I have not yet done that. Not yet.
Mhm.
We have not yet arrived at a conclusion as far as that one is concerned. So
Mhm.
this was the reason. You know what inspired me. I have said that to you, and
Mhm.
why it is in English. I say that to you. I think you understand, right?
Yes, I do. So, so if I should ask you, what do you hope Gambians, especially young people, should take from your life and your story that you've chronicled in this book?
Really, as far as the young people are concerned, I want to recollect what Tunku Abdurrahman and Lee Kuan Yew and others have done. You know, the Federation of Malaysia was
Mhm.
formed after the independence of those regions, those countries. Mali, Sabah, Borno, uh, Mali, Sabah, Sarawak, Borno, and Singapore. These are the five countries which, after independence, decided to form a federation. They formed this federation for maybe a few years. And then 1965, Lee Kuan Yew decided to break away from the federation. That is the prime minister of Singapore.
Mhm.
All right. This man was a very, very widely known as a visionary, an international visionary. So politically and economically, he decided to send the young people out to study economy, industry, and all other things, what which can contribute to the development of the country. So when I send them, for example, to the United States, I will provide a scholarship for them, which would really motivate them to come back to Singapore and join the bandwagon of development uh, group
Experts. Mhm.
experts. Yes. So this is how he developed his country. The young people, as far as I'm concerned, I put a very high um, hope,
Mhm.
a very high hope on them that they are the ones who would really lead the development of the Gambia to the level where it will be self-sufficient in rice production, in groundnut production, in the production of not only light industry products, but also even heavy industry products, which are in a peaceful, with the peaceful products. So this is my hope for the young people. I would want them to learn a lot about what is going on today in this world of technology and what do you call it? You have a lot of technology at what?
Yeah.
You know, huh?
Yeah, you mean
Tech-
AI, 21st century artificial
yeah,
intelligence, AI?
that's
Mhm.
right. In this world of technology,
Mhm.
they should focus on that. But at the same time, as I said before, let them learn the Quran first, and then they promote the idea of the importance of Islamic religion and go forward, to learn industry, to learn technology, and to learn everything that would really contribute to the rapid development, of the Gambia, so that there will come a day when a Gambian will not think of going abroad seeking for money or for anything that is uh, available in the country. That is my hope and my wish for the Gambian people. Yes.
To wrap it up, I mean, Tata, my uncle, Dr. Karamo Sonko, he wrote the foreword to your book. What is his engagement with your story? What does his engagement with your story mean? And what is the relationship with him like?
This relationship did not start with Karamo Sonko,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Karamo Sonko only. It started with your grandfather, Fanyarika Sonko.
Mm-hmm.
Fanyarika Sonko and Bandimarong, Surumane, and Sambiansua. These are the people who will not even hold a naming ceremony in the absence of my father.
Hmm.
You understand?
Yes.
So yes, and then you know that your father, your father's, I mean your uncle, Dr. Karamosonko is named after my father's uncle, Chorna Muhammad Silla. They call him
Hmm.
Karamosonko. Chorna Muhammad Silla was the real name of the person he was named after, you know, who resided in Gilani,
Ginani. Hmm.
Casabas, yes,
Hmm.
Casabas, and where your
My
older
dad.
no, your grandfather, of course, your
Hmm.
grandfather Sheikh Sonko, Alai Sheikh Sonko was
Hmm.
a disciple, a student of Alai Chorno Sidla, and then your father was, as I mentioned before, was given to Alai Chorno Sidla for studies, was his student. So as a result, Karamo Sonko, actually, Dr. Karamo Sonko became a member of our family. It is not just somebody that we know him, and so was born in our hands in Sintet.
I see.
So, I mean, the relationship between, and really, I also appreciate Karamo Sonko because he with all the, what you call it, the caliber, the international caliber he carries along with him, he comes down, to earth before us.
Hmm.
He's so modest. He's a modest somebody who would really be remembered by us as not only somebody as somebody that we know, but
Hmm.
as somebody who's member of our own family. We like him, we love him, we appreciate, we support him in all ways. Especially his relationship with my late brother Karan Sekou
Hmm.
was very intimate, definitely. That kind of love and liking they share among themselves, Alhamdulillah, until my brother departed. So Karamoso is somebody that really we will continue to appreciate and pray for his long life and his continued success, inshallah.
Tata, finally, la fibula later, but a question killing the malabije, molben yininka kaminna, kongen yininka, what you think about the concept of Moria or Marabu? What is the Islamic position on the idea of, obviously, that is on one, the idea of Ndola tradition, fonko nyaron kol wala dina nyaron kol, most of the time, most of ko Marabol, but also I'm sure there is a conceptual leaning as to the whole idea of Moria or Marabo. What is this permissible in Islam at all? Ngalong ko you currently in Nakata, so you probably a short answer would do it. But talk to us a little bit about Moria in Islamic tradition and how it has been done today in our Gambian context.
As I said, when you leave your country to a foreign country, you'll find their ideas, cultures, traditions, which do not exist in your own society. So these are the things which when they went to the Arab world, these things, of course, were inherited from the Arab world, Moria or whatever you call it.
Mhm,
But Moria, as far as we know in our time, is a person, Moro is a person who learns and teaches
mhm,
Quran and Islam, okay, and prays for himself, for his family, and for the community and people who would meet him. And this is in line with the teachings of the Holy Quran. The Prophet Muhammad himself would tell people, pray for me. When you are praying, you should not forget about me, pray for me too. So the one of the problems that we have, the people tend to mix Moria and Batuta, you
mm,
know, also what they call it, magic, magic.
mhm. Black
They
magic.
tend to
Mhm,
mix. That's right, black magic. They tend to mix these two things. But the real Moro, as I said, is a man who teaches, who learns and teaches, and also maybe travels, migrate in the search of the will of Allah, in search of the satisfaction of Allah. These are the morals what we know in our time. And that has taught into to conflict with the teachings of the Quran or the teachings of the holy of Allah, the teachings of the Quran and the teachings of Islam. There's nothing conflicting between the two. If this is the Moria, what we know, and this is the Moria, what we know in our time, our fathers, our great grandfathers, that's the past, that the past really they traded, until they all are gone. So this is my own perspective of Moria. Yes. Is it clear?
Well, yes, it's very clear, Tata. Abaraka Bake, thank you so very much. Final statement, if you have anything you want to share, Janim Bibla later, please. But I'm content Babake Nata Nanjang, Abaraka Babake, for being here today. It means a lot to me.
Really, it is you young people who are my concern. Who are my concern? Whether those who are in the Gambia right now or those abroad, who are abroad. You are the future builders of our country. You are the people with your ideas, positive, constructive ideas, will be able to make a difference, in our country. So make sure that, all of you, the young people particularly, that Gambia is not left behind. The Gambia is in the forefront of the countries that are fighting, struggling to emerge as independent economically, self-reliant, politically, and also independent in their own way. Do not try
Mhm,
to copy from outside, but try to develop and depend on your own tradition, on your own strength, not the strength from outside, so that you can make a difference. But if you want to look at other nations, what they do, let me do that, what they do, that I should not do that. That is the problem why some of our countries will be left behind. Because if you say
mhm,
that you concentrate on ideas, whether this is haram, whether this is halal, and so on and so forth, whereas everything halal and haram is in the Quran. Why
mhm,
don't you go through the Quran and find out? Because the Quran is
mhm,
translated in all languages. And one of the reasons why I go into translation is that if Quran was in order in Arabic, how can we understand? We cannot understand it,
mhm,
you know. But our people far beyond, and behind, they translated Quran into our languages, the Mandinka, the Fula, the Wolof, and so on and so forth. So we all benefited from that. So I mean, we should really build on what they have started. We should be self-reliant. We should be serious. We should not look at other people's traditions and their so on and so forth and copy that, which may not be relevant to our own society and to our own culture, our own traditions. You understand?
mhm. It's very profound, Tata. It's very, very profound statements you're sharing. Abaraka Babake. Ibrahim will be comment section of the ko Yastop K Farmer promote. Bandar Mojamal be comment section of the Baji Wake and Fanang. Mavla Mube Kalal Barakambala comment of be for Tata and the science and thing. I'm sure Amantara Keja Daming. But thank you so very much for being here. For spending your time to talk to us and sharing a lot of knowledge. Sariam Fanambeja comment section of the baby Duake
Amen.
Puru ya bebe dua ke pour yo continue ka tara jang alay jata kende aba dila
Amen. Allah. Ya
alay dimba fering baraka
Amen.
baba ke
Amen.
for everything you do for the Gambia and
Amen.
continue to do. We really
Amen.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for you to choose me for this very unique interview or conversation, because I see you as a son of mine, the son of Jambasonko, by the way. Jambasonko is my age mate. We lived together in Sintet, in peace and love. Although he married before me, he married before I went to the Arab world. He married Kadi Yabu
Yeah, bo.
in my presence.
Mm-hmm.
Kadi Yabu was very young at that time, very, very young. So he married him long, maybe a few years, maybe two, 3 years before I went to the Arab world. So we were
Mm-hmm.
together in Sintet very harmoniously. We were together in Brikama very harmoniously. because our compounds are not far apart in Brikama,
Yes.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you are part of us. We are part of you too.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Tonya.
Welcome.
Tonya. Baraka.
Shukran.
Baraka Babaga. Thank you. Thank you.
Shukran,
Thank you
Jazakallah.
so much,
But
Tata.
again,
Mkontanta Babaga.
again,
Thank you.
Terry Brahima, my
Uh-huh.
father, is more visionary than their father.
Ibrahim,
Tell
what
them
you
that.
on, man?
Challenge them. I challenge them. Yes.